Sorry, my mic was mute. And hello everyone. Welcome to the first office hour of Angular Singapore. My name is Chung, and I'm the organizer of Angular Singapore. It is a brand new group that I created maybe a month ago, and also in the upcoming next week, we will has the first monthly meetup that's scheduled for. Let me see. No, it's not that. We go back. All right. Right. Yeah. The first monthly meetup is scheduled for the 6th of April, which is next Tuesday. We will revisit the dependency injection topic, and I hope you wanted to just to wrap up or you just revisit dependency injection knowledge. You can join the meetup with us next week. I hope to see all of you there. So today, the main reason for this live stream is to talk about the structure of NX workspace on Angular application. So I believe that most of you been joining when you saw the Angular Spotify that I published last week. I think it was on Monday. No, it's not last week. It is this week, Monday, and today is like Saturday. And it's been a huge success for me, and I really would take this opportunity to thank all of you, like for all of the support that you guys gave me. It's like in let me show you quickly. I think it's like in within like 5 days, there's a 1,000 star repository, which is really fast. I never really has a repository. I mean, I have one with 1,000 star, more than 1,000 star, but this one is like within 5 days was like crazy. Really like appreciate all of your support. And with that, I think let me see. I didn't really prepare for today live stream because I just wanted to show you guys quickly how the code and the structure look like, and then it's very casual. If we have more time, we will build this browse page where if you have the Spotify open, you can see when you go to browse, it is gonna display all of the category. Let's say it's category, and when you click into one, it will showing you all of the playlists for this category. And I think it is a handy feature, and I really wanted to add it quickly, but hopefully we have a bit more time. But if we don't have enough time to finish this part of code, I still been trying to show you quickly how to set up all of the store and the data access. And on the store, when you have data to render it on the UI, it's going to be very like easy for you, I would say so. What else before we get started? Yeah, I also invited my friend Chau to join us because he has a lot more experience working with NX workspace in particular, because the Spotify was like, I would say it's the first completed app that I was built with NX workspace. So maybe here and there could be some hiccup and some glitch, and maybe my understanding about NX workspace is not like deep enough like my friend Chau. So I invited him also to the live stream, and then we will also can have some discussion about NX and what is like really the advantage behind using NX on your application. So I think like I started quickly with NX and Angular application. So I have two screens. So the one that I'm looking at is the live stream, and the one that I'm calling is the main one that I'm using. So I might not look at you all the time. Sorry for that, but yeah, I hope you understand. So let's go through quickly. So I assume when you join this live stream, you have some basic understanding of Angular, like what is the Angular module is, or how to create a simple Angular component, and how to use a service, for example. I will try to go like into the detail like as much as possible, but we don't have a lot of time. But you have any questions, feel free to put into the comment section. I'll try to answer it directly or maybe later on. And yeah, and if, I mean, you might already notice that I'm not a native English speaker, so if there's something that you don't understand, feel free to also put a comment. I'll try to explain it again. I'll try my best today. So let's talk about NX Workspace. So I have one of the notes that I put on Git about NX, and basically NX is the development tooling. It is very similar to Angular COI, but it supports a lot more than Angular COI. So you think about NX is like a set of tooling that help you to write a code and to build the code and then to scaffolding the code. To instead of manually create all of the folder and everything, and then you put stuff in and you do reference to a library from the internet. NX is like they has the command for you to create a project quickly, and then after you created the project, there's a lot of like out-of-the-box tooling for you. You can already use Jest for writing unit tests, or you can start to already using Cypress for writing end-to-end testing. So it is very handy, and NX is like really suitable for like monorepo architecture where you has a lot of application and you want to put all of the application into a single repository. What does it mean? When you has a team with like 10 people, it doesn't really see a difference. You can put all of the code into a single repository, that's fine. But let's say you has 1,000 engineer across like 100 team, and working in the same repository could be a huge mess if we don't like manage it properly. So NX like provided a lot of feature out of the box for like managing all of this large scale project within a large organization like enterprise. And one of the handy thing I think is like they provided the let me go to the code quickly. If you wanted to learn more about NX, just go to nx.dev. It is the main page of NX. So it has first class support for Angular, React, and Node.js. For Node.js, there's Express and Next.js as well, and a lot more. There's a section on the plugin, and you can see there's Ionic and native script. I mean, like I mentioned, it's my first project working with NX, so I'm not very like 100% sure about all of the NX thing, but I hope you get the idea. So one of the handy feature that NX provided is like when you wanted to like create a project, you can just run npx create NX workspace, something like that. I think. Yeah, the command looks similar into this command that I type on the screen. Let me bring it a bit bigger. And then it will ask you like what is the name of the project and what is the API like technology you want Express or you want Nest, and what is the front end thing you want, like you want Angular or you want React. I'm not sure about Vue.js, but yeah, it could be supported already or it might not. And with NX they provided a lot of stuff. So if you go into the package.json, when you create the project with create I think I just clear the command, create NX workspace, there's all of the linting has already been set up for you. Testing build, this build prod is like the customize, and my friend Chau has me to configure it with Tailwind because for some reason there's a Angular CY has overwritten the Tailwind config, and all of the powerful thing is deep down into this affected command. What is that is basically it based on the dependency of the project, and then it can identify which project had been changed. for example, you made a change in a single utility component, like in a singularity like utility function, it can identify like which library has been like affected by this change, and then when you run the affected build thing, for example, it will only build the one that has been affected by the change comparing to the main thing, to the main branch. So it could really like shorten the deployment time a lot, because you think about when you deploy the app to the cloud, it is not like a simple app. It could take like 30 minutes. So if we can configure the affected build command like properly, the build time is going to be shortened a lot. And it's just like out of the box for you. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to configure it. It's just there. And I think it's very handy. I think I just run it, but yeah, I think it's not really help because I don't has any end-to-end and stuff. But if you run this affected app, for example, it's gonna just write on the console like which app have been affected by the change. I don't have the example yet, so feel free to use NX and try it out on your local machine, and hope it's really help. So the dependency here is like not much. There's the same. You have Angular most of the time, because the Angular Spotify, I was using Angular, so it has Angular package, and I also using NGRX for state management, and I also experiment a bit with the component store from NGRX. The effects packet is like to have you handling side effect, something like usually we thought like you should not make the HTTP call directly from the component itself, and then what you should do is like you dispatch an action, and then there's a effect somewhere. It's gonna listen to the action that you're dispatching, and then on the effect itself, it will handle all of the communication with the server, or like communication to the WebSocket, all kind of the of the uh, of the like remote communication, or even like when you update the browser title of the current web page into the meta tag. This thing technically should be inside the effect as well, I would say so. But yeah, it is another whole like topic, so we will not go into it too deep. And the main package was the NGI store here. Yeah, so the NGI component is the new package. So they has some pie, which is really helpful. I'll show you. I think some directives. Right? There's some directive from NGI component is going to be helpful for us. And then we have this NRWL Angular. This is a package from NX to support Angular, basically. And we also have ng-joro for UI. Yeah, I think this is mostly the package.json. You have any questions, just feel free to put into the comment. Yeah, that is the package.json. And beside the package.json, I think I also set up Husky, so that when you start to try to do a commit, Husky will try to invoke the pre-commit hook, and it will do some check. And I think also I configure lean stage, so that is gonna check only the file that you change. So it's not gonna like go through all of the file and do the lean check. You just go through all of the changes. Like you need to make change on a single file, and then it will appear on the grid, and then lean state will invoke into for those like changes file only. We have Tailwind config, which is like handy for Tailwind. It's basically something you need for Tailwind, obviously. And yeah, that's pretty much. I think after I using the create NX workspace, it's only create me like 2 applications. So the first one is Angular Spotify, and the second one is Angular Spotify E2E. which is the project or to host all of the um, end-to-end testing is configured with Cypress, um, which is easier. And I think Protractor is gonna be obsolete soon. I think Cypress to make it a lot easier to write unit testing, end-to-end testing. And after created the library, you will see that the lib folder here is like empty, like completely empty. There's nothing inside. So I started to create the first folder named web for this for the lib folder. So the idea here is like in the application itself, for the Angular Spotify application, it is gonna be very lean. We don't put a lot of we don't put a lot of code into this F folder as we usually do. So before you might have like call, and then you might have like service, I don't know, and then you have depends. You can have the view thing. But now we separated it out into sorry, I think I did this the whole app. So now we separated all of the code that the application need into a library. And yeah, we have a good reason for doing so. I think I'll talk about it later when my friend Joe is joining. And if you look into the app component, which is the root, like serving like the entry to serve the application, you see that's the only one router outlet. I'm not sure if like how many of you has using this like router outlet in the app component itself, because usually there could be a layout and then you plug the router outlet somewhere in the layout. But doing this router outlet on the app component itself is going to be benefit us a lot in the long run, because for example, you wanted to have a different layout for different like route like on the UI. One of the example is like you has the login and register route, which is for unauthorized user, and you also has another layout for the login user basically. So after the user has been logged in, you start wanted to display maybe a top navigation bar with a user avatar and some action. But when the guy has not logged in yet, you wanted to just display login page with just maybe a logo, and then there's a few like two text box and then the button. So if you do this router outlet, it's going to be very handy. You just need to configure a login to a login component. For example, I'm just saying, and then when there's the slash to the root, and then you're trying to start to put in the home component, for example. So having only a single router outlet on the app component is gonna really help for an application. I think it's overall. It's not for even the small or big. It's like for every single application. We should use it, router outlet in the app component itself. And then if you look into the app module, it's usually the place where you put all of the for root configuration. Like you wanted to maybe you don't want to have a router module, you will do the router module dot for root inside this import array on the app module itself. Or when you wanted to register the global state for accessing throughout the application, you also wanted to do this for root inside this app module. But now since we separate everything into a library, this is not like applicable anymore. So I put all of this stuff for root inside the web shell module. So the shell is like, you could think about it, it's like an app module, but it's for library. So inside you can see there's still there's a layout, there's some router for root, and then there's a store, and then the effect module, which is all of the for root I'll just initialize here. And also I have this icon module. And if you look into the icon module, I think I need another separate live stream for that. But basically the icon module is where I also do one for root for one like another package. to manage my SVG icon. So just think about cell is like a wrapper, a library wrapper for everything. And if you go into the for root, and then there's the web shell route, and inside the route of the web shell, it is where you start to configure all of the route. Right. I think that's my friend Johnny. So I added my friend Chau. So that's a route. So usually I don't have the separated module for like app routing. I think it used to be a thing a few years ago when I start to look into the tutorial. But like I prefer to have just a simple array to store all of the route.
Cannot hear anything. Hello.
Hello.
Nghe rồi.
Oh, okay. Because yeah.
Oh. Sorry.
No,
I spoke in
no,
Vietnamese. Okay.
No. It's like I thought you said you cannot hear anything, which means that like from the beginning no one hear anything.
Oh, okay.
But I think it is fine then.
Right.
The guy said you can put this English subtitle, but I'm not sure how to put it in. Yeah, sorry, I think I cannot put the English subtitle. I think it's not supported yet.
It's not supported. I don't think StreamYard support subtitle.
StreamYard supported or it's not. Yeah, anyway, I think it's not supported yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, I has only one. Let's continue. So I has only like just a simple array for the route here, and when you because Angular Spotify basically there's no login page and stuff like register and login. So I just plug the layout component into the route like when you load the path empty, and then inside I start to load a bunch of stuff. And usually, ideally, you will have like also some guard like can activate Chau and stuff. But at the moment, I'll just assume everything is fine after I has this layout, because before I has the access token, basically I'll just redirect you to Spotify. So technically, you cannot do anything without an access token. But yeah, better you should put more stuff into into the route configure, and usually it's gonna be inside respectively the module itself instead of inside this web cell route. So there's a bunch of route here, and I think that's it. If you go into the empty path, it try to redirect you to collection. Used to be, but I think later on I configure it to just serve the home like directly. Yeah, I think let's go back to NX a bit. So there's the Chau here, and I just mentioned to the guy that NX is a powerful dev tool for like a monorepo architecture, and it has support a lot of cool library out of the box. So you just using a simple command like npx create NX workspace, and then out of the box you have just Cypress and everything out of the box for you. You don't have to configure anything. Do you have anything to add for that, Chau?
While it uses the modern tunings like Jest, Cypress, even storybooks and stuff like that out of the box for you. Not out of the box for storybook, sorry. But it does provide you a way to go back to the tools that that you're familiar with, like Comma or Jasmine, if you like. So it does provide you a fallback to those old, or not old, but alternatives that you're familiar with, that you don't want to change or anything like that. So let's say you have an Angular CLI project that you want to migrate over to NX, but you don't want to rewrite all your tests from Jasmine to Jest, and you can just use Jasmine with NX, no problem.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's a great point. I didn't add it before. like I mentioned to guys, like my first completed project with NX, so there's some glitch here and there. Yeah, and I also like tell the guy that we try to put everything inside the lib folder, and the app, like the Angular Spotify app, for example, is going to be very lean, and you just import most of the stuff from
Yep.
from the library itself.
Yeah, I can explain this as well. So the reason why is that, so let's say later on, because the web shell module, you can have like a static or like module with providers, so you can have a configuration based on when you import this web shell module. Can you try like put that dot for root on line 14? Actually, yeah, like in this module right here, like web shell module, you can have like static for root or whatever method that you want to return, that you want to take in a configuration object and return a new module. So you can do that. And the reason why we want to do that is that so now your web shell contains all of the information, all of the features that basically the Angular Spotify uses. Assume that you're going to have another app application in the future that uses the same set of features, but there's some slight difference in the environment. Then you can just use the web shell module again in that new app. So that's the reason why we keep the app portion, the app module, very thin, so that we can replace the shell module easier. So that's the main idea.
Yeah, I see what you say. Yeah, the static forward is like we can plug it in, and usually you need to implement an interface. I forgot what is the name, right?
Really? I don't remember that. So,
I think it's like yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember any implement because it is static though. So
Yeah, something like
so
that.
no, the forward has to return that.
Yeah.
That's the return type, not the implement of the class. The forward has to return that, and a module with providers now takes in a type argument. So it has to have like a type argument.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the web shell module. It's like do you? I mean, for me, like for the web shell, I still don't really get like. Do you usually has multiple cell inside an application, for example? Because now usually we has only one shell module.
Yep. So one shell you can think of it this way: you can have one shell that can be used in multiple apps. But
Yeah, right.
then you can have one app that you can switch out a shell based on the environment too, with the environment file, because you can just use the ternary syntax to, let's say, hey, if this environment use the web shell, or if this environment use another shell, so you can have it both way.
Can you have like a very a bit like an example which is easier to think of? Maybe an application and an mobile app, for example. Can you share something?
To some degree. Let's say you have
Yeah.
some like interceptors, right? Or validation logic or error handler. You can use the same shell for, right, for multiple applications.
I see. So basically, we just need to. Oh, okay.
Right, because
Yeah,
so you can have like a shell that contains like shareable stuff, and then you have another shell contains the UI stuff, so that when you have like a native script application or Ionic application, and then you have a web application, that you can use the same shareable shell, but then you switch out a UI shell for each of these apps.
Yeah. I think I understand it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. It is like a piece of code could be reused like between web
Mhm.
app and then the mobile app. It's
Yeah.
understood. Yeah, understand.
Yep.
Otherwise, if you have like two different repository, usually you might think of, maybe you need to publish it into a private npm repo, npm package, and then you take it from there, or you copy and paste. I think, yeah, that's the two things I can think of. Maybe there's more, but that's the only thing that I can think of. You don't have one single repo. And yeah, so inside the web, we trying to follow the structure that we also put in the node for NX. Basically, we try, like I mentioned, we trying to put everything in the lib folder. So here I created the web folder. So basically, like Chau said, maybe we can have the share thing, and inside the app, probably you, for example, I just like you have mobile app,
Yep.
and then from the share library, you can import Angular Spotify, and then in the mobile app, yeah, for example.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the idea. And then if you have the mobile app, and you might want to put everything that's for specific mobile app into the same name. So that is the idea of the library folder here. So at the moment, I has only single app, so I just put everything into the web. And for all of the first like level folder, it is most of the time is it is routable module. I would say so. It's like lazy load module. For example, the album feature, and then there's
Yep.
a browse feature, or the
Mhm.
home, and then you have the playlist, and there's a share folder, and then there's a shelf, which is not really a routing, but it's just also in the first level folder, and the
Mhm.
track and visualizer as well. So it's own like lazy load component. And if you look into the structure that Chou has already draft for an application with an API and then one client, it's gonna look like that. So we just go into the client. So we had the shell, which is like the wrapper for reusing, and then we have some feature. The feature here is like usually that's just a directory, because inside one feature, like inside the homepage, for example, usually there's a lot more UI. Oh, it's expired. So inside the homepage, basically you could has many pieces of UI. So if you just trying to put it inside a single library is going to be too much, and that's why we put it in like in the directory, and then we start to have data asset, which is just a library for storing all of the service and API call and state management related, and
Mhm.
some kind of model. And then you have the feature. So think about it like that. I have this playlist. This playlist, yeah, playlist, and then in the feature I have the list of. So basically, the list inside the playlist is corresponding to this UI. When you click into your library, it is gonna load the list of playlists for you. So it is a single library. And what we're trying to promote is like to promote scam, which is one component is belonging to only one Angular module. You don't want to put like I put the example here. You has the register component to display a register page, and you just put it inside a same module with the name register. You don't want to put register component inside the auth module, and you also don't want to put another login component inside the auth module as well. So one module, one component, simple rule. And let's go back to the library here. So that's inside the playlist. When you load the playlist, there's a list of playlists, and you click into one, it's gonna load the detail of the playlist itself. So that's why you see there's a that inside the feature could be there's two different like many different library corresponding to different route, and it could also be a simple like feature, whereas inside this route, there's single, like the home page, there's single page, like how do you say it? Like there's a single routable component. If you have like a single routable component, you can put a single library into the feature.
Yep.
Is it correct way to put it? Yeah, I think.
Yeah, that is correct. And the reason why we split routable components or routable container components into features, and then we break off like UI or utils and data access, is because we do not want to import feature in like anywhere, because they are lazy loaded. So we never want to import anything inside of features anywhere, because they contain a module that we're going to be lazy loaded. For the data access can be shared across. So let's say home data access can be used in like playlist data access. Same thing with the UI, but if the UI is shared across features, I would recommend to bring it over to the shared UI instead. So
yeah, I understand, because I also have the share UI thing, where like something like the place button that you're seeing on the UI, this blue thing, it's gonna be reusing, like could be like many part of the UI. Actually, when you start to play, this icon is belong to the same component, which is the play button. I think this is doing too much, but for educational purpose, I think it's acceptable. What else? Oh, I think there's a lot of benefits when you started to break the thing out into the library. And actually, on NX documentation, I think there's not a lot of library type. So in NX component, they recommended to have only 4 type of library. So the first one is the feature library, which is like we mentioned.
Yep.
It is smart UI or like container or like routable, with access to data source, which is access to this data access library. Most of the time, the UI library does I has maybe just give an example so the guy can understand. Maybe let's go into playlist. Yeah. So for example, the UI library here, they mentioned it's like only contain presentational component, and usually you wanted to pass in the data for the UI like library to render. So you should not like access to the store from the UI library, for example. And one of the example is the playlist track UI that I have here, which is inside the playlist routable, like inside the playlist feature thing. I have this playlist track, which is corresponding for one row of the track inside a playlist, and I'll just put it in the UI folder of the playlist, because technically this UI is like only belong to playlist. And for album, maybe they will have another track like album track, but the presentation is going to be different. So we just create a different component to display different UI. And what else? I think there's one more time. Oh, utility library.
Utility. So utility are, I mean, when you think in Angular, utilities or something, you think like, oh, string utils that deals with string, or datetime that deals with datetime. But actually, like things like guards, resolvers, interceptors, or validations, those are all utils.
That's right. But like for example, like for all of the GAT, is it like spell GAT?
Guard.
Gore. Yeah, for all of the Gore, it's like usually, do we put inside the authentication module, or we put it inside an until library? This I think it depends, to be honest. Yeah.
No, we like gauze and stuff like that, we put in utils. But usually, most of the time, the gauze and the resolvers. Resolver might not be, but gauze and validations and interceptors, they usually stay in share utils.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. I think
It's very
currently,
rare that you have like a single feature that depends on a single guard.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Usually we have something like can activate Go, and then
Yeah.
it's gonna be
then-
shared to a
right.
lot of different features. Yeah.
Right. Can activate guard is the name of a guard, right? But sometimes in most application we have like the authentication guard is to prevent people from like prevent non-locked in people, and then we have like permission guard or roles guard. So those are like span across the application. So it's going to be shared utils instead of like one feature util.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, that's right.
So
And,
that so this is the dynamic convention as well. So we mentioned earlier, if you have like a single routable component, you can put it in a feature, or you call it a feature. However, because most of the time we always have like a data access accompanied with that, so we always group the feature name as the directory. So instead of like feature home here, we would have home/feature instead. So that later on, when we want to add data access to home, we don't have to do data access home, and then that's going to pollute the top level directories. So that we put the data access inside of home instead. So that's why we always have like the feature name as the directory that has like features, data access, utils, and UI for that feature.
Yep, understand. It's like grouping by domain is gonna be easier for us to retrieve later on.
Yep.
Yeah, I was a bit confused when I saw this one
Yeah.
because you see it like there's a lot of feature in the app, and also there's a lot of data access,
Yeah.
and also there's a lot of UI, which makes the list is gonna be crazy long.
Okay. Long isn't that bad, but think about it this way. So if you have like a bunch of features, then you have a bunch of data access, and then you have a bunch of utils. The thing is, now the feature home might be like a page scroll away from the data access home. So they might not be they might not even be in the same screen, if you know what I'm saying, because like there's so many things in between.
Yeah.
So because it's going to be sorted by data access, right? All the data access will come before the feature. So you have data access home, data access foo, blah, 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 blah. And then until that, you get to the feature home. So you might want, it's a little mental overhead to group these feature home and data access home if we name it like NX recommends.
Sure. Oh, yeah, there's also UI with the dash. Also, the UI can depend on another UI and until. And for the feature, I think there's feature can depend on any type of library, which means that a feature can depend on data access and until most of the time.
Yep.
And also the data access library, which is usually can only depend on data access and until, which makes sense. And until the library is like it's just doing its own thing. Usually, I think it's not gonna depend on anything. If it should depend on anything, I think it's not until anymore. And NX said that you should keep all of the library type is low, like meaning if you have following this 4 type of library, you just should keep it like 4 times. So it's gonna be much easier in the future for you to just keep repeating and just keep creating the same thing over and over. Otherwise, when you started to introducing a new thing, maybe we also need to transfer it to the team member, and that's beyond your agreement with your team. But I would say keep it simple. And there's a lot of reason why we do it like putting the number of libraries is small, and we try to grouping everything based on the domain, not based on the type. Because like I put it here, I think this all of the three things that Joe mentioned to me. So it's help us to eliminate the mental overhead when we don't have to think about where should we put like something. Like if you do the normal way without scam, you might think there's a share UI module where I can maybe put in the button, where I might put in the tooltip, and then I can put in the model. And when you have the data, you might consider, should I put it into the share UI module or not? So now when you have only a single module for a single component, you just, I need to create another module for the data formatting, for example, just an example. And then when you have the scam, I think we get the benefit from the effective command that I told you before. For example, I think we had a discussion about that. So like you have the share module with 10 different components, and then you make change for one component. So the whole share library we need to be like rebuilt, right? Instead of you have a different 10 different library hosting 10 different components. So if you make change for one component, only that small library and module need to be rebuilt. I think that's the whole idea from it. And we this like doing it will also prevent like circular dependency issue. And I also have some circular dependency, but yeah.
And then there's one more thing. So
Go ahead.
VS Code users. So when you build your component in a scam approach, from the template, can you start typing some component, and then VS Code suggests to import a module of that component, or do you have to import the module manually?
I think it really depends. In my use case, I usually have to do it manually.
Can I share something real quick?
Of course, I'll show you. So here we have the let's say I wanted to import, I don't know, maybe some kind of credit store. Okay. No, it's like it just cannot.
I'm sharing my screen. I'm sharing my screen at the moment. So
I think it's not the problem of VS Code or NX.
it is a problem. No, it is a problem with VS Code. Okay. All right. So just very quick example. So you see right here, we have the play button module, and this play button module is absolutely a scam. It has one play button component, and it export one play button component. So when we want to use the play button component anywhere, we just need to import the play button module. So here is the navbar playlist module. And this is where we use the Angular Spotify play button. And I'm going to remove this one. I'm going to remove this one, just like I don't have the play button module in here yet. But now over here, WebStorm is gonna yell, okay, hey, I don't find any play button component available in this module. So it knows that the nav playlist component is being declared inside of navbar playlist module, and inside of navbar playlist module doesn't have anything to say play button. WebStorm can import the play button module for you. Can VS Code do that?
Template itself?
From the template. From the template.
That is so cool.
Okay. Yeah, that's all I want to show.
It is like for me when I develop the application, it's really struggling. Is the Like for example, I import the component already, but when I try to type it on the screen, on the template part, it just doesn't give me the suggestion, for example,
Yeah.
or it just doesn't give me the right input of the component itself.
Yep.
That
So
is
that's one of the few things that I kind of I started with VS Code. So to be fair, I started with VS Code, but I switched to WebStorm, but then I can never switch back to VS Code. I tried multiple times, but I can never switch back to VS Code. So because things like little things like this one, like productivity boost, you can just start very focused on your template. You don't have to go back and forth with module.
that's true. Yeah, it's gonna really help on productivity because you are the one who developed the component and you know exactly how it's look.
Yep.
Yeah, sometimes we just wanted to type it directly and then we wanted
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
the editor to import it for us. But yeah, I think there's one question on the chat. So why you always put specific project specific configuration file on Xlib?
Oh, yeah, you can answer that.
Actually, you should. I don't think I have the.
All right. So this is generated by NX. We do not put it in there. It's generated by NX. And when we generate a library, let's say we want to generate like a new component, we're going to generate that component as a library. So it's going to generate all the TS config as length, blah, 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 together with that library. The reason why is, so when you work on that component, you can test, you can lend, and you can build that component by itself. So it's isolated. So you know for sure that by itself, by a unit, it works. So that when you use it somewhere else, you know that it's going to work. Another reason why is that when we break into like a lot of libraries, so when we have, actually we can show this. Are you is your Git tree clean? Do you have anything in your Git status?
No, I think I don't have anything. I think
All right.
everything we just put is just
Yep.
like.
All right, so let's try this. So let's run npm run dep dep -graph.
Yeah.
Let's just show that.
That's the one.
Yep. So this is the dependencies graph, right? We can just select the Angular Spotify. We can just select Angular, and then click on that icon right next to the checkbox of the Angular Spotify. That's like, yeah. So this will show everything that Angular Spotify is depends on. Then you can just click on, let's say like there's a artist feature. You can click on that icon again right next to the artist feature. Then it will just show what depends on the artist feature and what artist feature depends on. So let's look for the navbar playlist, because I want to show it because I have it here. So look for navbar playlist.
Wow, it's clear.
I think it's web.
I think just let me do it again. Then navbar playlist.
Yep, look for, I don't know what you call it.
Oh, it's right. It's navbar playlist.
Yep, so just click on that.
Yeah.
Right, so this is the dependencies graph of navbar playlist. So this is what the navbar playlist depends on, and what the navbar playlist, what depends on the navbar playlist. And you can see that navbar playlist depends on the display button. All right, so let's try this. Now go to the code, go to VS Code, and make change to the play button. Make any change to the play button component.
Yeah.
Just make it anywhere. Just make any change.
I just put name, the new
Yeah.
variable.
Yep.
It's,
Yeah.
it's false. Wait down. Just false. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So
Yep.
save that. Now run. Go back to the terminal. Stop this. You can stop it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll just do it.
And now run npm run affected colon depth graph.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I never run it before.
So now this will show that because you change the playlist, the play button, it will show every single module that get affected by this change, and you will see there's a navbar playlist in there on the left hand side. On the
This
left.
one, that's right.
Yep. So because now you change play button, when you run affected build, affected test, and affected lint, you only test and lint these modules without linting or testing the whole application. So this is the power of NX affected or dependency graph.
Yep. I mentioned it at the beginning, but I'll never really run this affected.
I don't usually run it as well. Yeah? I just run it for show.
Yeah, I think it's like
it's pretty cool. I run it for show. It's pretty cool, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I think as when you get used to the rhythm and we have the structure, sometimes just run it to check, but you don't really care. But just one question then. So when the play button is updating, which means that the navbar playlist is also get affected.
Yeah.
And because we import it inside the shell feature, so that the whole module, like the whole list of modules on the screen, all of them need to be reviewed, right?
Yep.
Right. Okay. Yep. Okay. I get it. Very cool. I think.
Yeah, I only show like dependency graph and affected dependency graph when I try to sell NX. So yeah.
Yeah, I put the this. I think that I put a small wrap on the README itself. Where's it? Anyway, has the new thing.
Oh, they do.
I've seen it. This table of content on README, which is
pretty cool. I didn't know that. Probably because I don't have that many things in my README.
You sure we'll have soon. I think that's the dependency graph. Yeah, I just take a quick screenshot on the shell. This, when you look, it's like that. There's a few feature, and you know that probably it's gonna be corresponding to the how many rows you have. And yeah, I just wanted to show it quickly on the README. Otherwise, just showing this big graph with everything is too big.
All right, so Meo Di Bui has a question. I'm gonna answer that one, and I'm gonna take off.
Yep.
All right. So we just Meo Di Bui asked. We just migrated from multi-repos to NX monorepo to take advantage of shell libraries, UI, and data model. What a game changer. In case of multi-projects, what is the strategy for deployment for them? So multi-projects, I understand, I assume you're talking about like multiple apps, all right? Again, it depends. Talk about CI/CD deployment, it depends. It depends on your infrastructure. It depends on the service that you're using. Usually with big enterprise companies, they use like third-party libraries like I guess like Jenkins and Azure DevOps and stuff like that. But for open source stuff, I've seen GitHub Actions a lot. So I mean, for strategy for deployment, it's like deploy anything. Yeah, it's like deploying anything that you've been deploying just like before. It's nothing really changed, but you can with NX, you can take into consideration of those affected commands Right. Let me give you something affected deploy.
Yep. I
Yep,
also wanted to figure it.
So this
Yeah,
one, I'm gonna share this in private chat, and Chrome can bring that up. So I just share an article. By the way, just put it in the description later. So this article shows you how to use the affected commands to deploy only the affected applications. But now you're going to run into the problem of like version, right? Sometimes in the model repos, you try to keep the version of all of the deployable or a publishable app the same, like via semantic versioning, like 1.00. Then only one app change. You might or might not want to deploy everything to 1.1.0. So you don't have like one app at 1.0.1, but then another app is at 1.1.0. So this really depends on the team, on your projects. But yes, you can take advantage of the affected commands to work that into your CI/CD to decrease the build times.
I'll put it into the note later on. I think. Wait, just a sec. I think I'm sharing the wrong thing. Just give me a moment. And I think Joe is you're saying after this question you will take off, right? You're busy. So
Yep. So I'm gonna take off. Let's start a night routine with the baby. Maybe next stream, if the baby is awake, or if it's in the morning, I might be able to show the baby on the stream.
sure. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining today.
Yep. All right. Thanks for having me. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
See you. Talk soon. Yeah. And to answer the I think to continue with the affected build F. Yeah. Right. I saw the article about how to configure because I'll show quickly easier. Just give me a moment. I'll check the article and then I'll share the screen again. But I just wanted to show you quickly how I deploy the Spotify into Netlify. This is gonna be super easy. But for your enterprise and with API and stuff, it's much different. Because for Spotify, there's only the only one F, so it's super easy to deploy. But if you have multiple F, it's difficult. So I show my screen again. So that is the Netlify where I deploy most of my F. So for Spotify, for Netlify to be able to use it, you can deploy any kind of application into Netlify. Basically, what it does, like after you run your build command, you get your static file like HTML, JavaScript, and CSS, and you just take it from there and serve it on the URL that you provided or with the default Netlify domain. So what I do at the moment is for the deployment, I'll still run this command, which is npm run build production. And if you look into the package JSON again, you see that the build plot here is basically just deploy with the environment production. So if you use GitHub action and then you can configure it to call this command, which is affected build, it is gonna be really fast. Like basically, just need to configure the affected build in your project, and it will make things a lot more easier. I can show you quickly how long it's gonna deploy at the moment. Switch up to production. So the current one is deployed in like 51 seconds. I think because I didn't really change a lot, and then also they has the result caching from NX Cloud. You haven't seen NX Cloud. Basically, when you, for example, your team have 5 engineer, and then after you pull the latest chain, right? Usually you need to review the code to get it running on the browser. But then because you configure it with like NX Cloud, which means the last engineer who pushed the code, he has already built it, and all of the assets has been storing into the cloud. So next time when your fellow engineer pull the code and then they run it locally, and if they check if there's nothing changed, and there's a data inside the cloud cache, they can just take everything from there, and it's gonna be a massive change because for Spotify it's gonna take like 1 or 2 minutes to build, but if your application is really big, it could take like five minutes, and to save you 5 minutes, like few time a day, I think it's gonna be a lot. So if you wanted to look into NX Cloud, take a look and to see if it's gonna be benefit your application. And yeah, I think we on top of the hours now 11. I think that's it for today. I wanted to show you how to build a browse spread, but sorry, we don't have enough time. But I'll try to schedule another session. And before we left, I'll just show you what I did. I added a feature yesterday when you play a song, it will triggering. I think it died now. I need to refresh because there's no access token. So when you play a song now, it will display the background of the album blurry. I think if you considering building a music player, you might consider it because it's just like 20 line of code and makes the experience a lot more. If it is customized, and really I am the one who built it and I really like it. I hope you also like it. And thanks everyone for tuning in today. Sorry if I was speaking too fast, or there's some part that I was not very clear. If you have any questions, feel free to drop me a note on Twitter or on email. You can find it on the repository itself. And yeah, I think that's it for today. Thanks everyone, and happy weekend. Bye.